YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back right after day one of the NFL draft, and I have some winners, losers. I'm going to recap each pick, too. I'm going to go through all the picks, talk about it, see where they're at on my board, and at the very end here, I'm going to have some winners. I think some teams got a pretty good haul. We'll get my take on that. We just got done with our live stream during round one of the draft. Appreciate anybody who joined us. It was a lot of fun. Some surprises, not as many trades as we expected, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. So right before I get started with this, I do want to let you guys know tomorrow, which is day 2, I'm going to have a grades video. So I'm actually going to give a letter grade to all these picks in the first round. So no grades quite yet, but you're going to get an idea of what I think here with my winners. And I'm going to do a day 2 mock as well. A lot of very, very good players still left. A lot of surprising players left. So usually don't see that. Always some surprising players left, but not this many. And not this many of players like this, like guys like Drew Lock. Like, how is a quarterback like that left? But right before we get started, 20K is our subscriber goal. We're getting there. Support's been awesome. You're going to want to follow our Twitter there in the bottom right. We're going to be talking through most of the rest of the draft on there constantly. So you're going to want to follow that. Like button, notification button, all that, much appreciated. So pick 1 was Kyler Murray. And as expected, that's what I had. And, I mean, there's really one team he fits here. That's the Arizona Cardinals. But that brings up, could they have traded back? But they got to make sure they get their guy. What to do with Josh Rosen? There's talks that they could trade him to the Dolphins, which I predicted in a couple of the recent mocks. But Kyler Murray, overall, he was in the teens on my big board, but I still expected it here, and I still like the pick because he fits. If I had the number 1 pick, would I have taken Kyler Murray? It would have been a tough decision, but Quinnen Williams was my number 1 player. I'm all about sticking true to my board, but I do like the pick. It's a fit. We'll see if the Cardinals make my winners list at the end here with that pick. The Niners picked 2. They took Nick Bosa as expected. I kind of was saying throughout this process the last month or so that this was pretty much the one that was guaranteed because he's a perfect fit. He wasn't my best player available because Quinnen Williams is my number 1 player, but it doesn't even matter because Nick Bosa is a perfect fit, opposite of Dee Ford, and he was their best player on their board. He made that pretty obvious. The Raiders, actually, we'll talk about the Raiders. I think they wanted to trade. There was rumors they were trading up, and they wanted to with the Niners, or they were going to wait to see what the Niners were going to take, then they were going to trade up with the Jets, even one spot. They wanted Nick Bosa, but the Niners would not let them have him. So they got their best player. Overall, I like the pick. Obviously, no crazy value up here with some of these picks. I'm looking for value. We got to start going down the board. My number 1 player goes 3rd overall, so of course I love that. But we thought it could happen. This was very possible, so nothing surprising. But he was my number 1 player, and he went to the New York Jets. Good for them for sticking to their board. They could have went Josh Allen, which I would have liked as well. Maybe a little more of a need, but good for them for sticking true to their board. Gotta like it. The 4th pick, the first surprise of the day, the Raiders took Clelin Ferrell. Now, a couple months ago, I may have mocked Clelin Ferrell around these parts for the Raiders, but he started to fall down my board because of, his athleticism. But it's really not a knock on him. It ended up being more of the other guys just passing him up. I was just really surprised with some of the other guys during this whole process. The more I watched them, and Clelin Ferrell was at 18 on my board, so it is a bit of a reach. But at the same time, I do like Clelin Ferrell. He just always got it done. Very consistent, not super flashy. And Mayak's kind of going with that too. I agree with that. He's not the super flashy one, so that's why people are going to complain about it. But I do like him. It was a reach. They could have traded back a little bit, I think, but they wanted to make sure they get their guy. But one thing that was interesting to me, people are saying, why not Josh Allen? Well, it's obvious to me that they don't think Josh Allen would have fit. He's originally a 3-4 outside linebacker. I think he can play 3-4 or 4-3. I've seen him do it all, but he is better in a 3-4. But he can do a mixture of things. So, and they did bring in Arden Key, but it wasn't a first-round pick. Who's that same style player? Poor man's Josh Allen, you could say. But they went for the guy that's a pure fit, and to them there was only 2, and really pretty similar in Nick Bosa and Clelin Ferrell. Obviously, Nick Bosa the much better talent in this draft class if healthy. But a similar style player, I think both strictly 4-3 ends. That's what the Raiders wanted. That's what they wanted on the one side of the ball for the defense. So, I'm not going to bash him for this one. It's early, but, I do like Clelin Ferrell. The 5th pick, the Bucs go Devin White. Kind of an expected one here. They get the linebacker to replace Kwon Alexander, and the beauty of it, he actually could be better than Kwon Alexander very early on in his career, and you expect him to be down the line. And he's a healthy guy too. Quan Alexander hurt last year. So, I mean, he does everything you ask a linebacker to do. We're starting to lose value in linebackers unless they can do a bit of everything. Mainly they look for the rare ones that can cover downfield, and Devin White can do that. He was my number 4 player on my board, and they get him at 5. So pretty good there. But it was expected, nothing crazy in value because we expected it. But a good pick there. They get a good player in Devin White. And then another surprise here. Even though we heard it could happen, the Giants take Daniel Jones at pick 6. If you watch the live stream, our reaction, I was still very surprised. I thought it was smoke. And if they were going to take him, they were going to try to trade up from 17 and grab him. I thought they were going to take Haskins, though. I really did. And they took Daniel Jones at 6. That was Gettleman's guy, I guess, and I don't agree with it, obviously. I did not. I did think he would go first round, but that's not where my grade was. I thought maybe he would go second round, or I thought it was okay if he went second round based off my grade. I thought he was more of an early third, but he's a quarterback, so, always got to bump the quarterbacks up because that's the most important position in football. But we did figure he would go first round. I just really didn't think he would go 6th, and it surprised me, even though we heard it could be coming. And all the Giants fans are a little disappointing too. So, I mean, every time anybody mocked Daniel Jones of the Giants, those people got ripped by Giants fans for doing so, but it happened. So you can see some of the stuff is very realistic. So I do not like the pick there. We'll get to the rest of the Giants picks. But in terms of this pick, they're a loser for me on the day for this pick. We'll see what I think about the other picks and what I think of them in general. On their day. The teams with multiple picks should be winners. At the end of this video, I'm going to talk about winners, the biggest winners, and those teams that have the most picks should be winners, and some of them struggled. So, for me. So we'll see. Pick 7, Josh Allen goes to the Jaguars. Too good to pass. Definitely too good to pass here. My second overall player in the draft. And again, I think he can fit their defense, even though some teams may think he fits only a 3-4. So Josh Allen, great pick, too good to pass. You're getting a guy that gets after the quarterback in many different ways. You can see him drop back in coverage too if you need him to. So they're going to use him in different ways here. And the Jaguars definitely got better. They definitely got better. They got their quarterback during the offseason. Now they get a pass rusher with Campbell and Yannick Ngakoue already, and that's looking pretty good. So very impressive there for the Jaguars. Second overall player at 7. We thought maybe he could drop a little bit. But to 7, it's just a great value pick there. Pick 8, the Lions go T.J. Hawkinson. There was rumors of them trading down, but they stayed put and took Hawkinson. So maybe they were never trading down really. And I guess if Hawkinson was gone, but I kind of expected them there. Maybe the Jags, but I kind of expect them there. They haven't really had this type of tight end. They expected it from Ebron. They got solid play from Ebron, but he wasn't playing how he is now. So, Hawkinson's a safe tight end, maybe the safest one we've ever seen, in a long, long time. He can do everything. He can run, he can catch, he can run after the catch, he can block. So, you can line him up pretty much anywhere too. You want to line him up in the backfield, put him at fullback, you can do so. I don't know if they're going to do a whole bunch of that, but it's just an all-around tight end, every down tight end. So, not crazy in terms of value, obviously, but it's a solid pick. It's kind of what they needed there for the Lions. But yeah, at this point, surprising no trades yet. That's what we were surprised about in the live stream. And then 9, the Bills, they were a team we're going to trade down, but I think that was if Ed Oliver was not there. They were very high in Ed Oliver, kind of knew that going in, and then they kind of confirmed that, and then they took him at 9. So they could not trade down because, that's what happens. Clelin Ferrell, I do like him, but it was a reach, and then Daniel Jones was a reach. And then really good players start to fall, and teams cannot trade back because we cannot pass. They're saying we cannot pass on these players. Here's an example with Ed Oliver going to the Bills. And then more reaches happened coming up, and more teams got steals, and then a ridiculous amount of really good first-round talented players, in my opinion, are still on the board. So that's what happened here. That's exactly what happened. Here's a prime example. The Bills get Ed Oliver. He's going to go in there with Star Lotulelei and Harrison Phillips. That's going to be a pretty darn good defensive line. So Ed Oliver is going to be fun to watch there with that Buffalo defense. Pick 10, here's a trade. The Steelers come up to pick 10. The Broncos go back to 20. So the Broncos didn't really like what was on the board. We thought maybe they could take Devin Bush. But let's move back to 20, they said, because they can gain picks by moving back 10 spots. and they can still get a very good player because everyone's dropping. So I like that from the Broncos. I do like that. The Steelers come up. I'm never really a fan of giving up picks because I value having a lot of picks. But in this case, I'll make an exception because the Steelers had a good amount of picks, and they just have not been able. They just had no luck, and it's really not their fault. They just have not been able to get that linebacker since the unfortunate Shazier injury, to one of the best linebackers in football, maybe at the top there. And they get a beast in Devin Bush here. They do give up some picks, which it doesn't hurt that much, though. I was going to say it hurts maybe a little, but Devin Bush is real good, not far off of Devin White. He's a high motor guy, going to get in the backfield, very instinctive, can cover downfield, can get pressure on the quarterback, very good blitzer too. So Steelers finally get that guy, that linebacker, and there used to be mocks with him dropping to 20 for them. There was no chance he was dropping down there. There was some surprising guys that dropped and still were on the board, but there was no way. So Steelers finally got their guy. Steelers fans got to be pumped about that. 11, the Bengals go Jonah Williams. If you're watching this live, we kind of figured this one would happen here. It's a good fit for them. He really wasn't supposed to be here, but the offensive lineman started to drop. So it wasn't like crazy value. We expected this to happen. He was around here on my big board. So we kind of we thought this could happen, I should say. But Jonah Williams, they needed more offensive line. It didn't play to where they wanted to last year. Jonah Williams is a guy that can help them in multiple different spots, tackle, guard. So a very solid pick for the Bengals there. And then the Packers at pick 12, an interesting one to me. They take Rashawn Gary. Was not ready for this one because there was rumors about his injury, his labrum injury. Does he need surgery? Can he play through it? I don't like the sound of playing through an injury. But I trust the Packers medical staff. He must have checked out because teams, panic when these rumors come out last second and don't take guys. But I trust that. My problem is the fit here. I just didn't view him just because of his speed doesn't mean he's an outside. He can play outside linebacker. I viewed him as strictly a 4-3 end, and their plans are to play him at 3-4 outside linebacker. So they got a great group there now because of their free agency. Haul too with Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith. So Gary's a fantastic player. Still needs room to grow though because he didn't have all that production. But I was a little surprised about this one. I thought it's not the best fit on the day to me, but he is a good player with a lot of upside. So I'm kind of in the middle on that one. But I was a little surprised just for fit purposes. 13, the Dolphins get Christian Wilkins. There was rumors he would go in the top 10 right before the draft was starting. There was also rumors the Dolphins would trade back, but Christian Wilkins falls to them. He's got everything you look for in a defensive lineman, and this defensive lineman class is ridiculous. So he ended up falling here, and the other teams reaching and ends up pushing Christian Wilkins back. So the Dolphins get a really good player. He'll be good with Brian Flores and his defense. They've been missing a top-tier defensive lineman since Ndamukong Suh, really. So they get the interior guy. They need a quarterback, and they need another defensive end on that team. So, and they could use linemen too. But I like Christian Wilkins. He was in the top 10 on my big board. He was actually number 8. So they get the number 8 player at 13. Not crazy value because we did expect him maybe to be here, but it's a good pick. You got the number 8 player. 14, another early surprise here. The Falcons take Chris Lindstrom. His name was starting to get thrown in there for the first round conversation. Before it was like second round lock, and then he was getting thrown in the first round, and it was starting to make it sound like he was going to go first round, but it's probably going to be a little later. I had him on my big board at 35, so that doesn't mean he's not a first rounder, but he was outside the 32. So it was a reach. The Falcons. The thing I will say, the Falcons are a pretty complete team. They can be back to the Super Bowl like they were a couple years ago. They just need to stay healthy, and their offensive line also didn't play up to where it had been playing in the past. So it makes sense to make sure the offensive line's good. They do need another D tackle, but don't reach for a guy. I would have liked Dexter Lawrence here. Even one of the corners that end up sliding, and even the Greedy Williams still on the board. I kind of would have liked that a little better. So it's a reach. A little surprised by that one. So not a huge fan. 15, the Redskins get DWAYNE Haskins, quarterback from Ohio State. And, it was pretty much confirmed that the Redskins wanted to trade up to get Haskins. It was confirmed that it was Haskins they were trying to get up. I guess they could just say that now. But, they wanted to trade up and get him. and they couldn't quite do it. They couldn't quite trade up, and they saw that the Giants took Daniel Jones, so maybe they think Haskins can fall to them, and teams don't want to trade back because a ridiculous player is falling to them. So the Redskins save their picks. They do not trade up, which they're rumored to trade up in early and maybe even top 5. So they hang on to their picks. They still get their quarterback. And now he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's ready to play right now. He's ready to play because the Giants didn't take him, and he fell to 15. He's pumped. Case Keenum's an excellent player to learn from too. He didn't have crazy arm talent. He's pretty accurate and able to do big things. A couple years ago, but he wasn't really gifted with the talent as some of these guys are, especially like Haskins. He just has a lot of knowledge for the game, so it's a really good guy to learn from. So that's going to be interesting. So I'm glad the Redskins held on to their picks and got DWAYNE Haskins. 16, the Panthers get Brian Burns from Florida State. I figured they would go offensive line. I thought it'd be their number one priority to take an offensive lineman to protect Cam because he's playing hurt. But I'm not really going to rip him for not doing so because Brian Burns was my number 10 player in the draft. They've been lacking pass rush for pretty much forever now, it feels like. And they were switching to a 3-4 because their defensive linemen fit the 3-4 a little more, but they still need pass rushers. And will they be able to get that 3-4 type guy? And they did. Brian Burns, my number 10 player in the draft. He can play that 3-4 outside linebacker, freak athlete, very good at stopping the run for, more of an athletic, undersized guy in terms of weight. And he can drop back in coverage. You would think he has the ability to do so. So I do like that. I like this pick here. Number 10 player at 16, solid value. We did think there was a chance he could be here, though, so not crazy value. But like it. And they still need offensive line. They still have some needs. But I like the pick. 17, the Giants take Dexter Lawrence from Clemson. He was in the top 10 on my big board. He was number 9 on my big board. I was higher on him than most. Why? Because he is an elite NFL run stopper right now. Maybe that's a little bit of a bold prediction, a hot take, but I think he's an elite run stopper right away, right when he comes in the league. But it's a passing league, so you expect him to possibly be down here, but he has the ability to get pressure. He got 7 sacks his freshman year, so he has it in him, and he got pressure these past couple years. Just somebody else was getting a sack. Cleveland Farrell, Christian Wilkins, Austin Bryant. So very good player. I was really looking forward to see who got him. So I hate the Giants' first pick. I really like this pick. I really like it. In terms of value, again, number 9 on my big board, get him at 17, that's good, but we kind of expected him to be here, possibly. So value is not crazy, but again, I was really looking forward to who got him. I like him a lot. If he can develop, the pass rush ability, he can end up being the best player in this draft, really can. 18, the Vikings take Garrett Bradbury. Kind of figured it was either him or Cody Ford when they were on the clock. If you were watching us live, I know Juwan Taylor was still there, and he's still there. But I was predicting them not to take Juwan Taylor because, and that was a problem with some of the teams. Those rumors that Juwan Taylor could be hurt, but Juwan Taylor is really a right tackle and a right tackle only. The Vikings' best offensive lineman is Brian O'Neill. He's to me, a right tackle and a right tackle only. I was hearing rumors that they could move him to left tackle. I don't agree with it. It's not going to happen, and that they shouldn't do it. So they get a guy that can play guard and center for them, and Garrett Bradbury. I think they'll put him at center. They'll go Elflein left guard, and they got Klein for right guard, and they'll go Riley Reef left tackle, and then keep Brian O'Neill at right tackle. So it's coming along there. They had one guy, and you can see a starting lineup there for their offensive line. So see if Kubiak can do. And Garrett Bradbury is their pick, and it's not crazy value or anything, but it makes sense. They need an offensive line, and they got their guy here. So that was pick 18. Pick 19 was the Tennessee Titans. They pulled the trigger on Jeffrey Simmons. I was wondering who's going to do it. Knew it was going to happen tonight because he has top 5 potential. I'd say he probably would have been 5th on my board if it wasn't for the injury. But because of the injury, it does move him down a little bit because he doesn't really help your team right away. So I had him down at 28, but then again, if you're looking, in the future here, the near future, once he's playing again, you have a top 5 talent on your team, and you pair him with Jarrell Casey, it looks pretty good. So, maybe, the fan base is probably split. One side of it's probably like, well, we got a top 5 player here. One side is he can't play right away. It's not super exciting. I understand both sides. But once he's healthy, if he stays healthy, you get a dominant player A guy that, pretty much dominated everybody played, and he faced double teams. He can play nose. He can slide around the D-line. So he's an impressive guy there at pick 19 for the Titans. Pick 20, the Broncos get Noah Fant. We didn't really see the Broncos being mock tight ends, and they definitely needed a tight end, definitely needed an athletic one, and they got that in Noah Fant. On my big board, compared to pick 20, it's not always about where they go compared to the big board, but you get an idea. Sometimes he was my 30th overall player, but I really wouldn't call it a reach still at the same time. I think that they had their sights set on him the whole time. They traded back 10 spots. They gained picks. I love that part. I love that. I think gaining more picks is good for them. Noah Fant, I'm not, I like the pick. I'm nowhere near in love with the pick, though. But they definitely got better. They got Joe Flacco some weapons, so obviously Joe Flacco's their guy. So add him with the rest of the receiving unit could be pretty good. My favorite part of that is trading back and getting picks. 21, the Packers. The Packers kind of confused me again here. Darnell Savage. I had him graded as a second rounder, but it's not really that. It's that they traded up 9 spots to take him. I didn't really see teams that were going to take him. Maybe the Raiders. The Raiders took Jonathan Abram, but they're 2 totally different types of safeties, so I don't really know if they were going to take him. The Packers had to have him, I guess. They had to have him. They're going to pair him with Amos. They haven't had really good luck drafting safeties in the past, but it's different now, hopefully for them. So, I don't know about trade. I just don't. It kind of gets to me they traded up. I mean, they had the ammo to do it, but I thought he was a second-round player. Not a big deal if you take him at 30 at all for me because he's an athletic freak with a lot of, potential upside, but I didn't like the part of trading up. Maybe that's just me. I like hanging on to picks no matter how many I have. I talked about the teams I liked a lot who were trading back. If you're going to trade up, you get a guy that's just way too good to pass on at that point, and you're just moving up and stealing him from somebody else. I just didn't see that with Darnell Savage there. So, I like the upside of both their players. They're not guys that I don't think are going to make a giant impact right away. But the Packers got better because they got 2 players today, but interesting way they went about it, kind of surprising to me. 22, the Eagles got Andre Dillard. I talked about Andre Dillard would be great for them. I think I had him in the 7-round mock I did out here on YouTube. I've been giving them Garrett Bradbury, and I did mention they would have to trade up possibly to get Garrett Bradbury, and they couldn't quite get that done. The Vikings took him at 18. But Dillard, it fits. He's a perfect fit at left tackle. He's the future Jason Peters, really, and that's why they got him. And Jason Peters out there left tackle, constantly getting hurt now, unfortunately. And he doesn't have long, until he retires. So probably one more year here. And Dillard is really a plug-and-play left tackle. So they get him at 22. That's a very solid pick. They actually traded up a few spots, too, to secure him. They had to hop the Texans, a team like the Texans. So that made sense to hop that team to get your guy. That makes a lot of sense. The Texans go Titus Howard. A little bit of a surprise. We started hearing he got some first-round buzz. I like Titus Howard a lot. He moved from right tackle to left tackle and improved. You don't see that a lot. That really stands out. Usually it's the opposite. Guys are struggling, and so they got to move to right tackle. So that was impressive. Texans need an offensive line. I'm really curious to know what the deal with Juwan Taylor is because I thought they were about to run to the podium and take him here. And that would have been the best pick of the draft. The Texans took Juwan Taylor here because of need and where it was in terms of value. That would have been the best pick probably at this point. I like Titus Howard. Thought he was more of an early second-round guy. So maybe a little bit of a reach, but they need an offensive line. They obviously like him a lot. He's got a lot of potential, too, because he's got very quick feet for a strong guy. So he's an impressive player, but, a little surprising there for the Texans. 24, the Raiders get their running back in Josh Jacobs. The fantasy players out there, they have to be, they have to have Josh Jacobs on the radar here because, he's a first-round pick for the Raiders, clear-cut starting running back, clear-cut number 1 running back in his class. He's a candidate for Rookie of the Year, too, picked here. So I thought maybe they would take him early second just because the running backs, in terms of value of the position, you can wait a little bit, but make sure you get the best running back in the class. Don't got a problem with it. He was around here on my big board as well. He was 27, so makes sense there. And it was a need. 25, the Ravens get Marquise Brown. I love this one because they traded back 3 spots, gained a pick from that Eagles trade, and still got their guy. I mocked Marquise Brown here because he's a perfect fit with Lamar Jackson. The quick, the RPO, the quick rollout and throw. But also, Lamar Jackson likes to throw deep when he's, from anywhere really, but when he's rolling out too, It's just Marquise Brown. He's great footwork. He's very quick, one of the faster players in the draft, maybe the fastest player in the draft. He's going to get separation early, whether it's the quick out routes or whether it's the home run, the deep ball. And that just fits with Lamar Jackson to me. It's going to be very fun to watch those guys. So they traded back and still got Marquise Brown. I like that a lot. Moving on to the next pick. The Redskins trade up and take Montez Sweat, my number 7 player in the draft, actually. Very good production for a freak athlete with a lot of upside. 6'6", and ran a 4.41, and he already gets to the quarterback, and he stops the run, too. You don't see guys like that. Usually these guys struggle against the run, or they don't have the production or something. When I made a mock this morning, I thought there was a chance he can drop down here because the whole concern, the health concern, it's not a concern to me, but, so I thought there was a chance he can drop down here. But it's a crazy good pick because you get a really good player. It's a Preston Smith replacement, and he's better than Preston Smith as long as he's on the field. Preston Smith's good, but Montez Sweat's a freak. 27th pick, the Raiders take Jonathan Abram. I thought they would go corner here. Abram's a good football player. He's going to fly around. He's going to do stuff for you from multiple different positions. He's just not really a true safety, but I don't have a problem with that. I thought early second was more like it, but we're pretty much there already. So the Raiders get a ball player here. That's pretty much how you define Jonathan Abram. He really does everything. So you got to like that about him. So the Raiders get their 3 picks with Cleveland Farrell, Josh Jacobs, and Jonathan Abram. So they get a haul there. Maybe a surprising pick or two, but they get a haul like we expected. Pick 28. Chargers go Jerry Tillery. And I was mocking this for a little bit at one point, and there was Chargers fans saying there was no way they'd do it, and I understand why. And I started to think they weren't going to do it either because he doesn't really fit what the Chargers. He fits the Chargers all right, but he doesn't fit what they've been putting in that position. I actually really like this pick. I really like the fit and how it will play out because I talked about this in the past. They need that defensive lineman next to Melvin Ingram or inside Melvin because Melvin Ingram does all kinds of different things. So you need a guy up there that can bring some pass rush, and they've always got that run stopper kind of guy. And I kind of started to believe they'll probably try to go back to that. They're not a believer in having a defensive lineman that can pass rush in that spot for some reason. Now you get Jerry Tillery, who is a pass rushing D lineman, and that's impressive. That's very impressive in that spot. So I'm glad they did it. He was around here my big board, so no tremendous value, but to me, a fit that I didn't think they thought was a fit. It's kind of odd. So obviously they do, though. But so I like it. I like Jerry Tillery here. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that D line for the Chargers. Pick 29, the Seahawks traded for this pick with the Chiefs, and they take LJ Collier there. So they traded with who eventually had the 21st pick. It was drawing a blank here. 21st pick was the Packers. That's right. Darnell Savage came up or the Packers came up and took Darnell Savage. So then the Seahawks trade back and get LJ Collier. So obviously Montez Sweat didn't fit what they wanted to do. They're a little concerned about the heart murmur situation or the enlarged heart. So to me again that checks out. But LJ Collier is a guy that I started to really like the last few months. I thought early second was more like it. Again, we're basically there. The guy could have a better NFL career than in college because he wasn't really used right at TCU at all times. He already can stop the run, and he can get after the quarterback. So he fits the Seahawks. This is your Frank Clark replacement, so we'll see how he does. They gained some picks throughout the day here, so that worked out for him. Not super in love with the pick, obviously, because I thought early second, but I do like LJ Collier a lot. And they traded away this pick to the Giants. So... to the Giants for DeAndre Baker. All these trades are confusing me. So the Seahawks eventually got 2 picks in a row, and then they traded one away. So they actually got this one from the Packers. The Packers had this, went up and got Darnell Savage. I'm confusing myself with all this. But so the Seahawks had 2 picks in a row, and then they traded this one away to the Giants. The Giants got their 3rd pick in the first round, ended up being DeAndre Baker, their first corner off the board, which was surprising, not because who he is or how he plays, but because we've been hearing it's Byron Murphy, then we're hearing it's Greedy Williams, and then we're hearing it's Rock Ya-Sin. Not going to be DeAndre Baker. The Giants surprised us yet again and take DeAndre Baker. So they got to give up picks to do this, but they had a lot of picks. The Seahawks gained more picks, so I do like gaining more picks, especially with the talent left in the remainder of the draft, really. So I do like DeAndre Baker, lockdown corner. I like Greedy Williams a little better. He's my number one corner, and I thought it was pretty clear cut. So I don't really know what to make of this. I don't know if you had to trade up, actually, at this point. Even if you view DeAndre Baker a first-round player, only 2 more picks left. I guess this was a guy they had to have, and they traded up. So, I like DeAndre Baker. Just don't know if you had to trade up to do it. 31. The Rams traded away. I thought the Rams actually could be interested in Caleb McGarry if they trade back in the second round. They did that, but the Falcons took Caleb McGarry here. So, very weird Falcons draft. They take 2 offensive linemen, Chris Lindstrom from Boston College, Caleb McGarry from Washington. We did not expect that. If I keep saying that, if I would have mocked the Falcons taking 2 offensive linemen, everybody would have let me have it. I would have been crazy, but they did it. And both guys really could have been second-round guys, honestly. Lindstrom sounded like he was going to be a first-round. McGarry got some first-round talk, but I thought it was a second-round guy. So, interesting draft from the Falcons. But the good thing, if I had to say a good thing here, even though I don't really like it all that much, the good thing is their offensive line didn't play that well last year, and it's something that was playing well, when they were real good. So now they're going to get it. They beefed it up a little bit. They're getting it back going, and they're going to compete. They got to stay healthy, but they're going to compete. So they get 2 players here in the first round. And then the last pick in the first round was N'Keal Harry, my number 1 receiver, actually. Depending on the team, I talked about Marquise Brown, I thought should have been number 1 receiver for the Ravens. But N'Keal Harry is a do-it-all receiver. He can do everything. He doesn't have really weaknesses. So the Patriots needed a receiver. I never really thought they would actually do it. Once we're getting closer to the draft here, I didn't think they're actually going to take a receiver. N'Keal Harry was too good to pass on. So they take him there. And now let's take a look at, I talked about, I'm not going to sit here and just say which teams are winners. There's a million teams that I liked. I told you which picks I liked. I'm talking about the biggest winners here, the biggest winners on the day. Well, first, let me break down the teams that had multiple picks. Those teams should win. They should win the day. And the Giants, I don't have winning the day. Daniel Jones, I hate the pick. Not ruling out that I'm saying he can be good. He's a good quarterback, obviously, but I just don't like the pick in terms of value where they taken him way too early, who they took him over. Dexter Lawrence, I love that pick. DeAndre Baker, I like him. Don't think they needed to trade up, though. Don't like trading up. So I don't like the Giants and the Falcons. They needed to keep Matt Ryan protected in the younger way, I guess, and they did that. But I'm not in love with it. They got two guys that could have been second-round picks. One of them probably late first, but they took him 14th, so I'm not in love with that one. Green Bay, Gary, I like his upside. Is he a fit there, though? I thought he was strictly a 4-3-N. Savage, I don't think they needed to trade up for. The Raiders, I like Cleveland Farrell, but it was early. They could have traded back. Josh Jacobs, solid pick. Nothing crazy about it. Abram, it's an okay pick to me. And the Redskins, they get Haskins, and they get Sweat, so that was pretty solid there. But let's take a look. I want to show my winners now before I go any further with that. Here's two big winners here. I got the Jaguars for taking Josh Allen at the 7th overall pick. He was my number 2 overall player, elite pass rusher. He can do more than that too. He can drop back in coverage. He's a freak. Got better over time. It's an obvious winner. It's an obvious top pick of the draft, one of the top picks of the draft. Number 2 player at number 7. Tremendous value. Even though between 2 and 7, it's only a 5 gap, but we're talking about an elite prospect here. And the Patriots taking my number 1 receiver, N'Keal Harry. It's just laughable, He's my number 1 receiver the whole way. There's some people coming along, saying that other receivers are much better. And other receivers can be better, but almost kind of confirms what I thought, what I'm confident in myself about already. But the Patriots taking this guy. The Patriots are going to take a first-round receiver. He's a damn good receiver. He's the number 1 receiver on their board. They saw what I saw. I saw what they saw. Love the pick. So we have another winner coming too, so don't worry. Big winners right here for their single picks. Jaguars taking Josh Allen. And the Patriots taking my number 1 receiver, N'Keal Harry, and also N'Keal Harry was number 13 on my big board, so I was pretty high on him. But the biggest winner on the day, completely just Like I said, a team with multiple picks should be the winner, and they were. The Redskins, to me, they get DWAYNE Haskins at 15. I like DWAYNE Haskins more right now because, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's ready to play now. They still got him at 15 without trading up, without giving up picks. This guy's going to be good. He's going to learn from Case Keenum. They got a really good offensive line if they're healthy, so hopefully they stay healthy for this guy. It was my one worry about him under pressure. He needs a little bit of time to throw, to step up in the pocket. But I got a good feeling about this guy right now, and I like that pick at 15. I like that they didn't trade way up and waste picks. And they get Montez Sweat, my number 7 player in the draft, all the way down at 26. Like I said, we kind of thought today that there could be a chance he could be down here because of the situation. I'm not worried about it. I keep mentioning at the Combine, they're never afraid to make guys sit out due to a slight health concern. Mississippi State found it. They figured out about it at the Combine. It's no big deal. They let him participate at the Combine, and he put on a show. Every time we saw this guy, he put on a show. We see him at Senior Bowl Combine, put on a show. He already has production. He can stop the run. Usually these athletic guys can't really, for some reason, never can stop the run. The defensive guys, especially defensive ends. So the big winners of the day are the Redskins, and I'm kind of surprised saying that going into the day. It sounded like a mess in their front office. They were going to trade up for way up and give up picks for Haskins or Daniel Jones. They end up with 2 top-tier talents. But yeah, my best single picks, you saw those. That was the Jags and the Patriots. Of course, the Patriots. But yeah, I mean, other teams that got hauls, that got multiple guys, they got better today. That's pretty obvious. Like I said, love Dexter Lawrence for the Giants. Love that pick. Rashawn Gary has a ton of upside for the Packers. Cleveland Farrell, I like him even though it was early. Josh Jacobs is going to be a Rookie of the Year candidate. But these are my big winners, and I went through and mentioned which picks I liked, throughout this thing. So, I mean, there was more picks that I like. Ed Oliver to the Bills, that's an honorable mention, big winner here. Actually next up for the big winner would probably be the Ravens. I can throw them up here because they traded back, got picks, and they got the guy that fit there. So the Ravens would be the next tier. They would be the next team lined up here for my big winners. So we got Redskins. If I had to rank them, I'd say Redskins, Patriots, Jags, Ravens would be 4. Bills probably would be 5, getting Ed Oliver. But the teams that did get the haul, the hauls, they got better today. But I don't agree with 100% of their picks. So again, we're gonna do a mock draft tomorrow. Updated mock draft for rounds 2 and 3. There's some ridiculous players left, so some teams are gonna get just crazy players. I'm gonna give them great grades. For what they're about to get tomorrow. And again, I have letter grades coming out for these players that went in the first round tomorrow as well. So a lot more to do. Follow us on Twitter to keep track with us, my thoughts on the rest of the draft, live tweeting that. So can't wait for the rest of it. Days 2 and 3 are my favorite days for a draft. I think mainly, I would say mainly 3, but looking at the talent that has to absolutely go tomorrow, day 2 is going to be my favorite probably. So can't wait. Again, follow our Twitter. It's a must follow over there. Much appreciated it. Much appreciate everyone who joined our live stream tonight. A lot of fun, and much appreciate everyone helping us out. Subscribers have been coming in like crazy, so thank you to everyone out there. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks everyone for watching. Stay tuned for much, much more to come. Goodbye.